the 1st of September 2025 as a date for national and regional elections. And in keeping with the Constitution, soon I will issue the proclamation dissolving the Parliament.
Tensions are rising in the Caribbean, and it's not just about stunning beaches and crystal clear waters. The Essequibo region, a 160,000 square kilometer land of strategic importance, is a hotbed of oil, national pride, and political intrigue, sparking a fierce dispute between Guyana and Venezuela. With elections on the horizon in both countries, the future of this contested territory hangs in the balance. Will Guyana maintain its diplomatic stance, or will Venezuela push its claim with military force? In this video, we'll break down the stakes of this volatile situation, exploring how the September elections could either calm or ignite tensions, and why this conflict matters to the entire Caribbean and beyond. To understand the whole context, we need to dive deep into the history of the Essequibo dispute. The story dates back about 200 years, when the European powers were drawing borders across the New World. The Spaniards granted independence to the Venezuelans in 1811. Just 3 years later, in 1814, the British acquired some territories from the Dutch and formed a nearby colony called British Guyana. This territory included the parts of the now disputed Essequibo. The British stretched Guyana's western borders to encroach on territories they hadn't inherited from the Dutch. An 1899 arbitration awarded the disputed belt to the British. Venezuela, however, was not convinced of process neutrality, and when collusion claims came out in 1962, the issue became even more heated. In 1966, Venezuela, British Guyana, and Great Britain came to the table and signed the Treaty of Geneva in hopes of a peaceful resolution. The colony gained its independence later that year and became Guyana. The issue, however, fell into limbo for several decades before rearing its ugly head in 2013, when the Venezuelan Navy seized a Guyanese research vessel in disputed waters. But now the question is, why is everybody so interested in this area? What's really at stake? For several decades, sugar, rice, and coconut were Guyana's top agricultural products, and gold and bauxite mining provided important economic support. However, it was not enough, and Guyana was still the second poorest Caribbean nation at the time. The Essequibo and its surrounding waters, on the other hand, are mineral-rich. In easier terminology, it means that oil is involved, a lot of it.
The ExxonMobil-controlled Stabroek Block offshore Guyana is now confirmed to have in excess of 4 billion oil-equivalent barrels. ExxonMobil announced today that it increased its estimate of the discovered recoverable resources from a previous estimate of 3.2 billion oil-equivalent barrels.
In 2015, ExxonMobil discovered nearly 11 billion barrels of oil in the Stabroek Block, almost 120 miles off the shores of Guyana. With this major oil discovery, Guyana finally had a chance to turn things around. However, the country with the largest oil reserves in the world, Venezuela, also has its eye on this region, putting the two nations on a collision course. At the same time, Venezuela also has a bone to pick with ExxonMobil. In the 90s, the multinational corporation was operational in Venezuela. However, when Hugo Chavez's foreign policy required foreign companies to cede majority control to the state oil company PDVSA, ExxonMobil upped and left. Not only that, the World Bank made Venezuela pay $1.6 billion for the company's loss. In light of these events, oil companies lobbied extensively against Venezuela, and both the Obama and Trump administrations imposed further sanctions. Now, Venezuela wants its vengeance. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. Things got a bit too complicated during the 2023 Venezuelan elections. In 2023, the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro held a national referendum asking his public whether Essequibo should become a formal Venezuelan state. The answer was a resounding yes. The only problem is that the area consists of 125,000 of the entire 800,000 Guyanese population. On May 25, 2025, Venezuela held elections for governor and legislators to represent Essequibo, despite the International Court of Justice's warning not to hold elections in overseas territory. Experts believe that Maduro is appealing to nationalistic sentiment and building political support at home. While reports of the military losing trust in his abilities, the dictator has been forced into taking major steps. Last year, he announced his victory in the elections without releasing any ballot count or evidence of his win. The Essequibo campaign provides a happy distraction from Venezuela's political and economic crises. The country's opposition parties boycotted the Essequibo election, and the ruling coalition won the parliamentary and regional elections by a landslide. However, it was no surprise at all. Now, let's talk about the Guyanese elections. For decades, Guyana has opted for international bodies and collective frameworks to solve its legal disputes. Venezuela has tried every tactic, from opting out of ICJ meetings to raising objections. But the Guyanese government has always made its case with the utmost diligence. Now, Guyana has declared September 1, 2025 as the date for general elections. President Irfaan Ali will be running on the ticket of the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic, also known as PPP/C. The ruling party has rejected bilateral negotiations with Venezuela and has opted for an internationally backed approach to the Essequibo dispute. Their need for legal dispute goes so far that when China tried to broker peace between the two countries, since it has massive investments in both countries, the Guyanese told them to back off. Since 2015, the PPP/C has relied on progressive economic reforms with proactive diplomacy. With an ICJ ruling pending for 2026, the ruling party believes it has done everything it can to reprimand Venezuela legally. They have prioritized diplomatic ties with the US and the CARICOM to ensure that even if all goes to hell, they can keep Venezuela off their backs. An election win will continue a reliance on diplomacy to protect their sovereignty. This long-term approach allows the PPP/C to focus on improving local infrastructure and social sectors. The PPP/C is going up against an alliance known as a Partnership for National Unity, APNU, led by the People's National Congress Reform, PNCR. They form a coalition with Alliance for Change, AFC, and offer a counterpoint to the ruling party's policies. They mobilize nationalist sentiment and promise a robust, assertive stance on issues of national security. Given their history, this coalition may opt for more visible security measures, including military posturing to reinforce Guyanese sovereignty in Essequibo. While this approach of putting the foot down may prove useful in short-term resolution, it could also lead to escalation with Venezuela, an already sanctioned country with little regard for international law. Could we see these two countries engage in a region-wide war over oil? It certainly wouldn't be an unprecedented situation. As tensions rise in the Caribbean, the fate of the Essequibo region hangs in the balance. With both Guyana and Venezuela at a crossroads, the upcoming elections could determine whether diplomacy prevails or conflict ignites. As the world watches, may the decisions of these leaders pave the way for peace, prosperity, and cooperation in a region that deserves both. What do you think the future holds for the Essequibo region? Do you believe diplomacy or military force will ultimately shape the outcome? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's hear your opinions on what should be the priority for both nations. Also, check out our video on China's role in the Guyana versus Venezuela dispute. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. This is Caribbean Focus, and we'll see you in the next video.